Need some GED math practice? Then you're in the right place. Hi, this is Parker from Test Prep Champions, and by now if you've made it this far into the video, you're probably wondering why I'm just sitting here staring into the camera and you're hearing my voice but you're not seeing my mouth move along with the audio, and you're probably wondering what gives. Well, the reason is because I'm filming on a laptop that's literally ancient because my normal filming equipment is broken right now, and this laptop is so ancient that if I sit here and talk along with the video, then it's just going to lag so badly that you're not even going to be able to see anything. The audio was not mashed up with my mouth at all. It's just going to look like a blur. It's going to be a disaster. And so also keep in mind that the video today, the pen, when I'm writing on the whiteboard, it does lag a little bit, and so I do apologize for that. It's extra sloppy today, but I figured, you know what, I could just enjoy my Sunday afternoon and just wait until I get my equipment fixed, or I could just film a video for people who want to pass the GED, even though it is extra sloppy. So I apologize for that in advance. If you guys want to blow off some steam and just slaughter me in the comments down below, just feel extra free to do so today. That's totally cool. And you're also probably wondering what gives with the Minnesota hat and the Minnesota Golden Gopher. And what gives is that I've just recently got accepted to dental school at the University of Minnesota, which I'm extremely happy about and excited for. So in about 4 years from now, give or take, I will be a dentist. So that's why I'm extra happy today, despite the video that the quality is not up to my normal standards. So sorry about that. If you can tolerate it, then you're going to learn some stuff today. If not, like I said, just slaughter me down in the comments. It's all good. I understand. I totally get it. So now, without further ado, let's start the video. So question 1 says to order the fractions from least to greatest, and we see the fractions here, so go ahead and pause the video and order these from least to greatest, then we'll go over it. Okay, so let's go over this. So the easiest way to do this is to just use a calculator and convert these into decimals. So in your calculator, you would hit 7 divided by 8, and that gives you 0.875. So that's what 7/8 is equal to. And now we'll do the same with 4/3. So just using your calculator, you just do 4 divided by 3, and that's going to give you 1.33, and it's going to give you a bunch of other 3's. But we're just going to simplify this, and we're going to say this is 1.33 repeating. And so then we would have 9/7, and we can do that in our calculator. So 9 divided by 7 in your calculator is going to give you about 1.29. And then we have 13/16. And so again, the same thing, pretty simple. Just put it in your calculator and you get about 0.81. All right, and so now it's pretty easy to just simply arrange these from least to greatest just by using the decimals. But let's say that for whatever reason you couldn't use your calculator. So for a question like this, if you can't use your calculator, you want to divide the numbers that you're given into two groups. So you want to look at numbers where the numerator is greater than your denominator. So the numerator is the top number in the fraction, the denominator is the bottom number. So we see that we've got 4/3 and 9/7. So in both of these numbers, we see that the top number is bigger than the bottom number. So we're going to deal with these together. And then also we see 7/8 and 13/16. So in these cases, we see that the denominator, or the bottom number, is bigger than the numerator in each case. So we're going to be comparing the numbers that we've grouped together. And the reason is because 4/3 and 9/7, we know that those two numbers are going to be bigger than 7/8 and 13/16, simply because their numerators are bigger than their denominators. So let's compare 4/3 and 9/7. And again, this is assuming that we couldn't just enter the numbers in our calculator and convert them to decimals. So let's say that we've got 4/3 and we've got 9/7. So how are we going to compare these two numbers? So to compare these two numbers, we need to get a common denominator. And so the fastest way to get a common denominator is to look at the denominator of the first fraction, which is 3. Then look at the second fraction and then multiply both the top and the bottom numbers of that fraction by 3. Okay, and so then we're going to look at that first fraction, and we look at the denominator of the second fraction, which is 7, and then we multiply the numerator and the denominator in that first fraction by 7. Okay, so let's do this, and then let's see what we get here. And so we have 7 times 4, which gives us 28. So let me bring this over here. So we know that 7 times 4 is 28. So we've got 28 divided by 21, right? Because 7 times 3 is 21. And so now we've also got 9 times 3. So we know that 9 times 3 is equal to what? 9 times 3 is 27. and 7 times 3 is also going to be 21. So we've got 27 over 21, and we're comparing that to 28 over 21. And so the denominators are the same, and so we just have to look at the numerators. And so 28 is bigger than 27. So we see that 28 is going to be 28, which was from our 4/3. Okay, 28 is bigger than 27, so therefore we know that 4/3 is bigger than 9/7. So to put these in order, we know that the greatest one is going to be the 4/3. Okay, so I'm going to write that here, 4/3. And then we've got our 9/7, and so we know that that is less than 4/3 just because 27 is less than 28. Okay, so we already know that these are going to be the biggest here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to compare the 7/8 and the 13/16. And so luckily we see that we don't have to use that same trick here, because luckily if we multiply 8 by 2, that's going to give us 16. And so if we multiply 8 by 2, we also have to multiply 7 by 2. So really what we're comparing now is 14 over 16. And we're comparing that to 13 over 16. Okay, so we've got 14 over 16, and we've also got 13 over 16. So the denominators are the same, so we just look at our numerators, and so we see that 14 is bigger than 13. So the 14 came from our 7/8, right? So we know that 7/8 must be bigger than 13/16. So then we can write down here, we write our 7/8, and then we'll also write our 13/16. And so you can see now how you can do a question like this with or without your calculator. And so of course, if you ever get a question like this on your test and you're able to use your calculator, just turn these numbers into decimals just using division. And that's the easiest way to do it. And once you've got them all turned into decimals, hopefully you're skilled enough with decimals that you could just look at this 0.875, 1.33, 1.29, and 0.81, and you could easily just understand which fraction is going to be biggest and which is smallest and how to order them based off of those decimals. So that's the fastest way to do it, but you can also do it this way, and this is the answer that you would get here. And as we would expect, 1.33, which is equal to 4/3, is the biggest, and so on down the line here. We see 1.29, which is equal to 9/7, 7/8, which is equal to 0.875, and then lastly we see 0.81, which is equal to 13 over 16. Okay, moving on to question 2. Question 2 says, what percent of 130 is 10? So pause the video and try to figure this out. Okay, so there are numerous different ways to go over percent questions, and so there's not just one simple way to get this answer here. There are multiple different approaches, but one of the simplest approaches, in my humble opinion, is to use this formula here. The formula is over of is equal to percent over 100. Okay, so this is not a formula that you'll be given on the test, so if you'd like to use this formula, I recommend putting it down in your notes right now. So we have is over of equals percent over 100. And so until you get in the hang of doing these percent questions, you can always count on this formula, and it makes it really simple. So here's how it works. So we see what percent, so that tells us that we're trying to solve for the percent sign here. Okay, of 130, so we see this of 130 is 10, so we see this is 10. So in the formula for the word is, we're going to substitute in 10 because it says is 10. And so also for of, we're going to put in 130 because the question says of 130. All right, and so we're just getting the question set up here. And of course, this is equal to the percent symbol here divided by 100. And so just like an algebra question, we're just trying to solve for this percent sign, and that's going to tell us what percent of 130 is 10. So as always, there's multiple different ways to do this here. One way is to say, hey, we've got 10 over 130. We can cancel a 0 out of both of these, which is going to give us 1 over 13. And so we want to get this percent symbol by itself. So to do that, we see that we've got percent divided by 100. The opposite of division the opposite of division is multiplication, so we can multiply by 100, which gives us the percent symbol by itself, but whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side, so we've got to multiply by 100 over here as well, and so we've got 100 times 1, which gives us 100, then we've got to divide by that 13, And so if we do that, we're going to get a number that's about 7.69, depending on how you want to round it. But the most important thing is not how you rounded the answer, it's did you understand how to get an answer that is basically this number, and maybe a little bit different depending on how you round it, but this should be about what you get, 7.69%. So again, there are multiple different strategies to approach percent questions. You may have gone about it a different way here, but the answer should be about 7.69%. Given 6x plus 2y equals 26, and 2x plus y equals 11, what does x equal? So pause the video now and try to find x, and then we'll go over how to do it. Alright, hopefully you had a chance to try this out, so let's go over how to do this. And this is what some people call a system of equations question, that's what I call them. And there's, again, like many math questions on the GED test, there's multiple ways to approach these questions, but the fastest way and the most effective way to do it when you've got numbers that work out like this is what I call what I call cancellation by addition. So the goal here is to get rid of one of the variables. So the variables in this problem are x and y. A variable is just another word for unknown. So we want to get rid of either x or y, and so if we get rid of x, we're going to be able to figure out what y is, or if we want to get rid of y, then we'll be able to figure out what x is. And so then once we found one variable, we can substitute that back in and find the other variable here. Okay, but we're not going to need to find both here. We just want to solve for x because it says, what does x equal here? So we want to try to cancel out these y terms. And like I said, you can do this question multiple different ways, but I'm teaching the cancellation method right now. So the important thing to do here is, let's look at the first equation here. We see we've got 2y. And then in the second equation, we see that we've got y here. So we're going to stack these on top of each other, and then we're going to do an addition here. But we want to make an adjustment so that the y terms are going to cancel out. So 2y plus what is going to make the y's cancel out? Well, 2y minus 2y is going to give us 0, so the y's would be gone. So in order to get minus 2y right here, we need to multiply this whole second equation by negative 2. All right, so let me show you what I mean. Let me stack these up on top of each other here. So we've got 6x, and again, this is not the only way to solve this question, but solve a question like this. But this is honestly the fastest way to do it once you get good at doing this and once you see the pattern here. So we've got 6x plus 2y, and that's equal to 26. And we're going to multiply everything in our second equation by negative 2. Okay, so we've got 2x, we're going to multiply that by negative 2. So down here, we're going to have minus 2x. Okay, and so then for our y term, we're going to do negative 2 times y, which is just going to give us minus 2y. Okay, and so lastly, we've got our negative 2, and we're going to multiply that by 11. So negative 2 times 11 is minus 22. So now we're just going to do an addition here, or I guess you could think of it as subtraction since we're dealing with negative numbers. So you could do 6 plus negative 2, or you could also just think of it as 6 minus 2, okay, however you want to think about it here. But essentially, we are adding the top equation to the bottom equation. So whether you think about it as 6 plus negative 2 or just simply 6 minus 2, the answer is going to be 4 here, right? So 6 minus 2 gives us 4, so we will have 4x. And then we're going to do plus 2y minus 2y, which is going to be 0. So the y's are going to cancel out, which is exactly what we wanted, and that's exactly what we wanted because we're going to be left with just one variable. So the one variable that we're working with right now is just our x here. Okay, so we see that we've got, or you know what, hold on a minute. Some of you guys are probably going crazy right now because you realize that I made an error here. And the error here is that we were supposed to multiply everything by negative 2 here. So it's not just 2x, it's negative 4x. So if you already left a comment down below and you were like, why didn't you remember to multiply that 2 by negative 2, then you can delete your comment or just leave it, you know, whatever works for you, because we do end up with negative 4x here. And so now we're going to still, everything else is going to be the same, right? So we still have our minus 2y. And then we also got our minus 22 out here. Okay, so everything is going to be the same. All right, so we're all good. Everything's good except for the fact that we're going to have a slightly different number here. So we're now doing 6 minus 4, which is going to give us 2x. Okay, and so our 2y minus 2y is still going to cancel out, and it's going to give us 0. And so we now have 2x, and that's equal to 26 minus 22. So 26 minus 22 is 4. Okay, so we now have 2x is equal to 4. And so to get this x by itself, we can divide by 2, and we divide by 2 on both sides. All right, and so what does all of this leave us with? Well, all of this is going to leave us with x is equal to 2. So after all of that work, we just figured out that. Okay, number 4. Sam bought a house for $315,000 and sold it for a 10% profit. What was the selling price of the car? Pause the video, try to figure this out, and then we'll go over it. Okay, so let's go over the question. So basically what we want to do here is we need to start with our $315,000, and we need to figure out, so he has a 10% profit, so we need to first figure out what 10% of 315,000 is here. And so the fastest way to do that is to multiply this by 10%. So you can just multiply it by 10% in your calculator, or instead of typing in 10%, you can also do 0.10. 0.10 is equal to 10%. However you want to look at it. So, and if we get the answer here right in your calculator, you'll see that it's 10% is $31,500. Okay, but we're not going to put the dollar sign in here. And so now we figured out that it's 10% profit. So we go back to the original amount that he bought it for, which is our $315,000. And so we now, since it's a profit, we're going to add that 10% number to the original price that he bought it for. Now, if the question said he sold it at a 10% loss, then it wouldn't be addition, it would be subtraction. Okay, but that's not the case here. So we want to do addition here. So we've taken that $31,500 that we found, because that's 10% of $315,000. And we're just going to add these together here. All right, and so the number that you're going to get for your answer is $346,500. All right, so we've got $346,500. All right, and so this is your final answer here of the question. So hopefully this one makes sense to you. This is pretty straightforward type of question, so this is important to understand how to do these types of questions for the test. So question number 5. Jade typed 6 times as many words as Sam, who typed 4 times as many words as Bonnie. Together, they type a 10,000 word report. How many words did Sam type? So pause the video now and try to figure out this question on your own, and then we'll go over how to do it. Okay, so the key to getting this question right is to really set up your equations and reason your way through it before you start doing a whole lot of math here. So Jade typed 6 times as many words as Sam. So how can we represent that as an equation? Well, instead of writing out Jade, we'll just use a J. So Jade types 6 times as many words as Sam. So we can say that Jade is equal to 6 times S, all right? Where S is the word Sam typed and J is the words that Jade typed. So we know that Jade typed 6 times as many words as Sam. All right, so that's our first equation that we can write. Now it says who typed 4 times as many words as Bonnie. So it says as Sam, who typed 4 times as many words as Bonnie. So Sam, which will represent the words that Sam typed, again, as an S, he typed 4 times as many words as Bonnie. So Sam's words are equal to 4 times the number of words that Bonnie wrote. Okay, and now there's the third equation that we can write here. So together, so all 3 of them, right? So we've got the words that Jade typed, we've got the words that Sam typed, and we also have the words that Bonnie typed. So Jade's words, Sam's words, and Bonnie's words, if we add them together, we see that the total number of words was 10,000, okay? So we've got these 3 equations here. And so now that we've evaluated this information here, before we jump into calculations, we really have to take a look at what we want to actually solve for here. So we're looking for Sam. How many words did Sam type? So what we want to realize here is that we've got 3 different variables, J, S, and B, and these 2 equations here okay, we can use these equations to guide us here because we want to work with just one variable. So since we're trying to find the word that Sam typed, we want to work with s's here. Okay, so we see here that j equals 6s. So we're going to rewrite this big master equation here so that j is going to be replaced with 6s because we know that the words that j typed are equal to 6 times the words that Sam typed. So instead of leaving a j down here, we're going to replace that with 6s. Okay, so 6s, we're adding that to s. All right, so again, we've got 6s plus b. So our equation up here says that s equals 4b. So let's solve this equation for b. So how do we do that? Well, we see that we've got s is equal to 4b. So 4b is 4 times b, so we can divide 4 by both sides, and that's going to give us s over 4, and s over 4 is equal to b. So now what we want to do is we want to go back down here to our master equation since we now have an equation. So we've solved for b, right? And so we can take this s over 4 and plug it in for b here. Okay. So plus, and now we have s divided by 4. Okay. So far so good here. And so now what we want to do is we're going to do some addition here, and we have to first though get a common denominator here. So we've got s over 4 plus s, okay? And so you can think of this as s over 1. So what do we need to do here? Well, we need to multiply s by 4. All right, so we're going to have to do s times 4. And we've also got 6s over here over 1. So what we have to do is we've got to multiply both 6, we've got to multiply the top by 4 here, and we also have to multiply the bottom by 4 here. Okay, so let's do some work here. Let's see what we get here. So we see that we've got 4 times 6, which is what? 4 times 6 is going to be 24. So we now have 24s plus 4s plus another s. Okay, and so this is now all over 4. Okay, so now we can simplify this even further. So what's 24s plus 4s? Well, that's going to be 28s plus another s gives us 29. So we have 29s over 4, and this is all equal to 10,000. So we have 29s over 4, and this is equal to 10,000. So now what we're going to do, and we're going to get kind of a funny number here, but that's okay. So we're now going to be solving for that s because that's the number of words that Sam solved for. So we have 29 times s. So the best way to get rid of this 29 is to divide by 29 on both sides. And also, we want to get rid of that 4 too, so since we see s divided by 4, we want to do multiplication here. So we then multiply by 4 over here, and so we're going to do 10,000 times 4 divided by 29, and so what I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to have to go up here, plug that into my calculator. So we've got 10,000 times 4, so we're doing 10,000 times 4. And if you want to check out my social studies video on the Constitution of the United States, you're more than welcome to. That's going to be on my channel here. So we have 10,000 divided by 4, and so then we now have to divide by what, 29? And I said this laptop was ancient, and now you can see why. So we're just dividing this by 29, and we see that that's equal to 1,379.31 and a bunch of other numbers. So we can say here that Sam's words that he typed about 1,379 words plus just a little bit more, maybe like a third of a word or something like that. I don't know, but this is, roughly speaking, if we round it, this is the number of words that he typed. So he typed 1,379